Hi everybody, welcome back to my Nomad build, part 2. I started this build in June 2016, but ran into a few paint issues, first with the roof and then with the body. So, partway through this build, it was set aside to do the Nomad, which is partly why it took so long to complete this one. I had a question in the comments on the first video about how I painted this kit, so I will try to explain it now also. Using a Pache H airbrush with a number 3 needle and craft acrylic paint, I mixed about 50% paint and 50% future floor finish, with a few drops of retarder so the paint would not clog the needle. You could use windshield washer fluid instead of future, but I find the future helps level the finish. However, while using Tester's Aztec airbrush paint on the Nomad build, I noticed how thin it was, and then started making the craft acrylics a lot thinner, about 1/3 paint and 2/3 future, and using a little higher air pressure, about 25 to 28 psi. But it's best to test this mix until you find one that works well. Also, because the Pache H is a siphon feed airbrush, it needs a little bit higher air pressure than the gravity feed airbrushes. I seem to have a lot of trouble getting the paint to work out on the roof. I seem to always get dirt and lint in it. I sanded it down a number of times and repainted it. I still had problems. One of the issues I felt was the problem was I had cardboard and newspaper lining my paint booth. So I removed those. I ordered those puppy pad sheets and lined the paint booth with that, and I wiped it all out with a damp cloth each time before I paint, and that seemed to help with the lint issues and keep the lint from getting down on the paint as it's drying, because the roof is such a big flat surface. It just seems to attract all kinds of dirt and lint when it's drying. Another thing I'd got to look into in the future is getting a hot box or some kind of container to put it into to let the paint dry, to keep it clean and dust free. So I'm on the search for an old-fashioned bread box. Well, this is the 57 Nomad. The turquoise came out pretty well, but I had an awful time with the roof. I painted it, 3 or 4 times, kept getting dust and bubbles in it. I kept sanding it down, and I just sanded it again. I had the body covered in Glad press and seal. You can see, although I got a little bit of overspray here, but when I took the press and seal off, it kind of left a residue. You can't see it right here, a gummy, sticky residue on the fenders and around the wheel wells. You can sort of see a smudge there on the fender, right here, and the same on the other side. And the paint started to come off on the fenders. So I'm debating. I got another smudge here. I'm debating whether I should toss it in the degreaser, LA Totally Awesome degreaser, and try and strip it back and start over again, or proceed and try and keep patching it. A little bit frustrating, but keep thinking I could do better. So, decision made. I stripped it back and we start again. Miles and miles of bare metal foil. Oh my. It's a little rough, but it looks pretty good. It is an improvement over paint. After doing the Nomad, the bare metal foil on it, I found that using the bare metal foil adhesive helped a lot, because I think maybe the foil that I had was a bit old and it wasn't sticking very well. It was sliding around, it was nicking and tearing. But after using the adhesive, you put it on white, it dries clear and then it becomes tacky, and then you put the bare metal foil on, and it went on a lot nicer. It stayed in place, it was easier to cut, and it just worked a lot better after that. It might be similar to white glue, but it's a little more expensive, and I figured, well, the brand name, it's for bare metal foil, so I used that, and it did really make a difference. It made it a lot easier, but there was a lot of foil to put on. Stay tuned. Up next, final assembly and the big reveal.